Okay, welcome. This is week 3 of yin and restorative, grounding into fall, and not much lecture for you guys today. We're just gonna jump right into practice, and I'm really gonna put a strong focus today on the adrenals and on nourishing the immune system and on creating a space for us to really relax into the lower body. The lower chakras are energy that helps us feel really grounded. I don't know if I mentioned, I think I did in the first week, that Vata energy lives in the hips. In the second chakra, what we refer to as the second chakra. So that air quality, whenever we're feeling ungrounded during fall season, or if we've been traveling a lot after a flight, or even if we've just been kind of sitting at our desk all day staring at a screen, grounding practices or practices that help to gently open the hips, the low back, the glutes, the legs can be really nourishing. So today we're going to focus on the adrenal area, the kidney area, relaxing the low back. I noticed that I actually clench my glutes a lot throughout the day, and that is probably also pelvic floor. So like low belly, all of that, just helping us to open up there. And the more I explore this practice and this practice of embodiment, the more I really realize that it's so much about attention. And when I can hold my attention in a specific way, it gives me so much more access to my own power and my own vital life force. So today, even my cueing will be around just different places to bring your attention back to, so that you feel safe enough to relax into each support, each pose, and the way that we support it. And when we can bring our attention back again and again and again in the practice, it just helps us to focus and hold our attention off the mat in areas that we need to. And we practice here because you don't want to be practicing when you're like in the boardroom. We're not doing that psychological work there. Or it doesn't have to be deeply psychological, it's physical, it's somatic. But anyway, now I'm really talking, and I said I wasn't going to. So let's just put it all into practical application. I don't want you guys to intellectualize this. This practice is about embodiment. So we are gonna start in a comfortable seat. So whatever that means to you, it might be cross-legged, it might be in Virasana. I'm gonna show you a way that my teacher, Jillian Pransky, before I do that, just give me a thumbs up. You can see me, hear me okay over here. Cool, okay. Today we are gonna use a strap, or like if you have a long scarf or a towel even, that would be good to have on hand. And I'm gonna use a couple of blocks. You can also use like a heavy pillow or a blanket or a towel. And I'm gonna sit down in hero's pose. This may or may not feel good to you, and I'm gonna do it super high. So I normally would never do hero's pose with 2 blocks stacked, but my teacher Jillian taught me to do it this way, and it's just a really, really nice supportive way to do it. So I'm on my shins, I'm wrapping my ankles around the blocks, and then I'm sitting back on my glutes, my sitting bones. And if you have short legs, like this feels really high to me because I have pretty short legs, but it keeps the pelvis in an upright, neutral position, which really helps the muscles of the low belly relax. Okay. Good. Once you're propped well here, if this bothers the knees, find a different position. And then let's do a little circle rotation. So we're gonna do cars with the shoulders. So we're gonna really break it up. You've done this before with me if you've practiced with me. So first we take the arms out. And then we pull the hands forward, so we're spreading the shoulder blades on the back. So the fingertips reach out in front of you. And then we draw up. And then we draw back. So squeeze the shoulder blades together. Yep, and then we draw down. So it's a circle, but I'm just breaking it down. Forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, squeeze back, drop down. One more, forward, up, squeeze back, drop down. Now we're just gonna take it opposite. So the shoulders stay down, but we squeeze the shoulder blades to pull the shoulders back. Yeah. Then we pull up. Then we come forward, spread the shoulder blades, then we drop down. So, circles, 3 more. Back, up, forward, relax. Back, up, forward, down. Back, up, forward, down. Back, up, forward, down. Good. Let that go. Relax it. Shake out the arms a little. Take a long exhale out through the mouth. Good. And then just do a little neck roll. And then switch directions. Okay. All right, inhale, let's sweep the arms up. Exhale the hands to the heart. I'm gonna open today with one Om. Feel free to join me breathing in. Setting an intention just to hold space for presence and loving attention for this next 50 minutes. Okay, we're gonna jump right into the yin now. So this first one is going to be a forward bend. It feels weird sometimes to do a forward bend when we're not warm, but it's not really about, especially this one that we're doing today, it's not super about the hamstrings. We're really going to focus on the low back and releasing there. So if being in a forward bend feels good for you with your butt, your glutes on the floor, just do that. We're not going deep into it today, but if you do need a little support, a blanket, a pillow will work nicely. I'm going to give you 2 options, okay? The first is for a blanket roll at the tummy. I don't like to roll my blanket all the way up because that's just, I can't actually get over it. It's just too thick for me. So you might roll your blanket just like a little bit, or a towel even would work nice here. And again, this is just an option. If it doesn't feel good, just don't do it. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. And then it just adds a little pressure to the low abdomen, and it gives the belly something to soften into. If you've just eaten, skip it, please. Won't feel good. And then something for the head. I have my feet about hip, maybe a little wider than hip distance apart. And I'm gonna bend my knees a little bit in this forward fold. How you stack your blocks or bolster pillow situation here is gonna depend on just how far you wanna fold forward, to be honest. So for me, I like a nice place to start is a high block and a medium block. And then if I wanna lower it or make it higher, I can. So you'll find one that works for you. So a little softness in the knees here, and sometimes if this feels hard or you want to hyperextend, or you just feel like you can't get a good length, maybe like little towels or washcloths under the knees. I know that's like a heavy prop situation, but you're at home, you're watching this on replay, it's worth it. So we're just gonna let the support hold us. I'm even gonna turn this top block to the medium height. I wanna start kind of low, or I'm sorry, high, and then I can move lower. Now, once you're in your forward fold, I want you to first bring your awareness to your low back. If there's any tension there at all, you may be able to ease that by using some support under your seat. This forward fold particularly is not about stretching deeply the hamstrings, but more about just opening softly the muscles of the back body. Not just the low back, but you may feel this more in the mid back, the upper back, even the back of the neck. See if you can relax through the face, let the jaw go. And at first, the body may tense more in reaction to this stretch. So just giving yourself the time and the space to lovingly invite yourself to let go. And even just visualizing how your sitting bones meet the ground here. Letting go of any tension in the outer hips, in the belly. And just imagining a softness at the low back where you feel the tailbone and the sacrum dropping down. You feel a softening of the front body where it's supported, the belly, the head. And just a really gentle opening in the back body, a softening. And this is just an invitation now. It's not a demand. It's maybe not even a reality in this moment, but it's an invitation, a cue. So that as you're here, you're open to whatever experience comes up, whatever feeling, emotion, bringing your attention back to the breath and back to feeling your body here meeting the earth. That's it. We're here together. We're bringing our attention to the body and how it meets our support. Last breath or two here. Maybe a long sigh on the next exhale if that feels good. And then just slowly walk your hands to your legs or to the ground. Tone your belly, roll up nice and slow. We're going to move our props out of the way. And then we are going to just neutralize for a moment. You're either going to lay flat on your back, or if you had that roll at your belly, it might feel good to lay back on it with the upper back. So, I'm just going to go in the opposite direction. This is just like a couple of breaths. You can stretch your arms back. You can have them at your sides. Just a couple long exhales. And if you've got that blanket roll under your upper back, it might, again, your body might tense away from it for a moment, like, whoa, what's this? Opposite feeling. So just take a couple breaths there. Good. And then we're going to come out. We're just going to roll to the side and slowly press ourselves up. And take your time. If you're not right on my timing, that's fine. We're going to come to lay back down, and we're going to stretch and open the hamstrings, but in a different way than we normally would. So this isn't going to be like your traditional Supta Baddha or Supta Padangusthasana, sorry. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stretch the left leg out and draw the right knee in, but rather than doing the whole like heel on the ground, toes to the sky, we're just going to totally relax that left leg. So just the leg that's straight out on the floor, just like wiggle it in and out. Yeah, and just let it like flop out to the side and externally rotate if that's what it naturally wants to do. So we'll get really grounded in the left side as we draw the right leg in. Take a couple circles with the ankle. 1, 2, and then change directions. 1, 2. Okay, and then we're going to strap around the foot. Okay, but again, this isn't going to be like your traditional hamstring stretch. I want it to be really loosey-goosey. So, we're going to keep the knee bent just a touch. Unless you're super, super open hamstrings and you really, really, can go in. And then I don't want you to get really like tight in your fingers and working in your arms. So if you can, if you have the space in your strap, wrap your hands around it so that they go around the backs of your hands, and you can kind of just let your arms go a bit. So now you're just hanging out. And your arms are being kind of held by the strap. You don't have to put much effort in the arms here. And then the left leg is relaxed. And then the right leg is really anywhere that feels comfortable. So there's a little bit of a hamstring stretch, but not that like deep, intense one that we might normally go for. And so what we really want here in this pose is, again, that focus on the low back, the sacrum, and the kidney area. And just imagining softening that whole area into the ground. And we're not trying to overly tighten the abs to get like the low back completely grounded, because that defeats the purpose. So if there's a little arc in the low back away from the floor, that's fine. That'll be a truer stretch in the hamstring. And allow for some softness in the belly. Let your attention, your awareness rest at the back of the head. Feel where it meets the earth. Smooth the brow. Soft jaw. The shoulders relax. The upper back. Imagine softness, spaciousness. The low back, the low belly. Welcome your breath in. Last round of breath here. When we make our way out, the knee can bend. And then we can place that leg back on the ground, just out in like a shavasana for a moment. And you might feel some blood flow moving into the right hip, the right leg. You might notice a difference between right and left. As you next exhale, left knee comes in. Right leg stays totally relaxed. Couple circles with the left ankle. Right leg heavy. All right. And then when you're ready, we'll move into this posture on the other side. I'm way tighter on my left side than my right. So if you need a different position, my leg is going to go much further away from my head on this side. That's fine. If you feel any pulling on the low back, bend the left knee even more. And if that doesn't ease it, maybe you bend the right knee and place the right sole of the foot on the ground. So we don't want tension in the low back. We want to soften the area of the low back. If you have the space, you can wrap the hands. If not, just try to relax the fingers and the grip. It doesn't have to be this like ninja grip. Maybe you have the ninja grip in your jaw. That's where mine tends to go. Scan down the back body. Back of the head, heavy. Upper back, supported. Mid back, supported. sacrum supported. Right heel or right foot supported. Imagine ease in the low belly. Softness and ease in the low back. This quality of spaciousness throughout the pelvic bowl, the womb space. Welcoming the breath in. Welcoming yourself here now. Ease the fingers, the arms as much as you can. This is not a space of right and wrong. This is a space of curiosity and play. I'm curious about how my body feels right now. I'm curious about my relationship in each posture. I'm curious about where I feel like I want to be gentle and where I feel like maybe a little resistant. Let's take one more round of breath. And then we're going to let that left leg bend. We're going to set the strap off to the side. And if it feels good, you can stretch the left leg long for a moment. Just take like a 3-breath Shavasana. Okay. The next posture is going to use a block, so you might locate that if you don't have it. And we're going to move into a supported bridge posture. So this is a really gentle back bend. If you don't have a yoga block specifically, this can be done with like a bolster type situation, a heavy pillow, a couple of bed pillows stacked on top of each other, a couch cushion, a rolled up thick yoga mat, or yoga blanket. Yeah, there you go. Get creative. Okay, one common mistake here is that we try to put the block in first, or whatever prop in first, and then lay down over it, and that's just the hard way to do it. So I'm gonna lay down first, and then I'm gonna lift my hips and scooch this block. So I prefer medium to low height if you're using a block. And then depending on how thick your prop is, if you're using a yoga block, you want to make sure the block is on the sacrum, not the low back, and it's barely going to touch the top of the glutes. If you're using a bolster, or like a big bed pillow or a couple pillows, you're probably going to have some support under your low back, but just make sure the sacrum, the triangular bone at the back of the pelvis, is what is like most heavy there. And that's it. That's it. The feet are hip distance apart. They are grounded. The knees are bent, soles of the feet on the floor. Hands can rest on the body, on the belly. They can remain on the ground, palms up or down alongside of you. I recommend for this one today, letting the arms be down at like a 45-degree angle. So not doing like a cactus or a T. Yeah. That looks good. Stay here. We're gonna spend a minute or two here just letting the pelvis get heavy. And you might feel some resistance. Mass, how's that feel in the low back? Give me a thumbs up or down. Okay, good. I just want to make sure it's not creating too much arc. And if it does, just lower it a bit. I want to imagine for y'all, and this happens to me when I first get into this pose, because it is a back bend, my low back really wants to kind of get into that back bend too. So what I want to invite is that as the sacrum's supported and kind of lifting up, you invite the low back and where the kidney, the adrenal area, to soften and relax down towards the floor. So even though the hips are being lifted up and moving up, invite the back, the low back, the mid back to soften down. Invite the inner thighs and the pelvic bowl to relax. Feel the texture of the floor or your mat under your feet. Smooth the brow. Let the shoulders go. Noticing any other sounds in your space. The sound within and around you. Noticing if you need to adjust at all, giving yourself permission to do that, and if you need to move in and out of the shape or add some tactile sensation, and rub the thumb across the fingertips or add a gentle sweeping motion with the arms anytime you need to. Feeling the breath. Your attention will drift away from your body, away from the shape, away from this practice. And then it'll come back, and you may find times when you are listening to me and times where you're not, and I'm just kind of like this background noise, and that's all fine too. One more invitation to soften here as we draw in our last couple rounds of breath in the shape. And on the next exhale, I'm gonna just gather my belly a bit and root down through my feet strongly so I can lift my hips just enough to move my prop, and then I'll roll down onto my back nice and slow. We're just gonna neutralize that twist with, or neutralize that back bend with a little twist. So knees can lift up and over to the left. This isn't a long pose, just a little neutralizer. So legs can be bent or straight. Knees can be stacked or staggered. Head can look up or out to the side, left or right, doesn't matter. and then we're gonna twist it to the other side. Gather the belly, draw the knees in, roll over onto your right hip. You might scoot your hips to the left to drop your knees to the right. About 5 breaths here. Again, you can stack or stagger the knees. I'm gonna stagger mine today. Okay. Draw that back into center. All right. We're gonna move into a Supta Baddha, so we're gonna stay on our backs, but you might want to, roll over and press up just to watch. I'm gonna show you a few different options. I'm trying to keep this really simple. And so for the sake of simplicity, I'm just gonna use my blocks to support my thighs. I actually really like this variation. You could support your knees with a bolster or a rolled up blanket or 2 pillows. What you're looking for is the gentlest, very gentlest sense of stretch or opening in the inner thigh and the inner groin. But I mean, if you have a full expression of this pose where your knees are like on the ground, which mine are nowhere near on the ground, if you can see, like this is my full expression, right? But I want to be at least 2 to 3 inches higher than my full expression. So I'm going to use these blocks pretty high, okay? So you don't want to be just like an inch. You want to be, I don't want to be here. This is barely supporting me. I want to be at least 2-3 inches higher than my full expression. So you might see what your full expression is and then decide what kind of support. I really love balancing my blocks on the edge and leaning the side edge of the block in, and that is so supportive, and I don't get that kind of hard edge of the block on my actual thigh. Now, if you don't have yoga blocks, use a bolster, use 2 pillows. I can still put my soles of the feet and be pretty supported. What I like to do if I'm using a bolster is put a block under it just to lift it up a bit. And then it's angled towards me, and that feels good. And I have short legs, so I'm having trouble getting my feet together. So if I were doing it this way, I'd elevate my feet with a blanket. Okay? You might also want just a little pillow or folded towel or blanket under the back of your head for softness. You might want a blanket over your body, over your belly, over your hips. Couple of breaths here in this position. Giving yourself permission to ease into the shape, slow. Alongside or Long exhale out the mouth is always welcome. Sometimes I'll stick the tongue out and do a little lion. I'm really feeling tense in the neck or the jaw. I'll do like a horse flutter, like a that really helps to open up the jaw. When we open up and relax the jaw, believe it or not, it also helps to open up and soften the pelvic floor. So you're on mute, you might want to try it a couple times. Let the legs rest into their support. Smooth brow and wide temples. There's spaciousness all across the crown of the head. Soft eyes, soft squinting muscles. There's spaciousness behind the eyes, around the eyes. Soft jaw. There's spaciousness inside the mouth, the roof of the mouth, to the back of the throat, down the neck. Backs of the arms supported. And there's spaciousness in the chest and the upper back. The back of the ribs supported. There's spaciousness in the torso. The sacrum supported. And there's spaciousness in the low back and in the low belly. And the outer edges of the feet supported. There's spaciousness in the pelvic floor and the inner thighs. Down the inner line of the legs. And when you're ready, you can stay here for as long as you'd like. Again, just gather the belly to draw the knees towards each other, step the soles of the feet down. either onto the ground or onto your prop. Just take a breath here. You might even stay here for the rest of practice if you want. If not, I'm going to offer option for 2 more shapes. One is a gentle back bend, but it's a little bit bigger than what we've practiced so far. We're not going to spend quite as much time here, but it'll be really nourishing, especially if you have some more work to do today and you want to be a little more energized. So I'm going to place my 2 blocks here. One is going to support my upper back and one my head. Instead of 2 blocks, again, 2 pillows, a bolster, long ways, okay? I'm going to take my blanket roll. I'm going to unroll it a little bit. And I'm going to put it on this block that's going to be on my head because I like more softness and a little more lift for my head. My legs are going to be out straight. And I'm going to lower myself down slow onto the elbows until I can line the edge of that block up above the tips of my shoulder blades. And then I'm going to use my hands to adjust that block in the back. Probably should have waited to put the blanket on, but until my head feels supported. Legs could stretch out long, knees can be bent, feet on the floor. You can go back into that Baddha Konasana shape, see what feels good here. Couple of breaths in this gentle back bend. And again, just allowing the low back, the kidneys to soften, the outer hips. Allowing the legs to just roll open if they are stretched out long. Here in the back bend. I'm going to do about 5 more rounds of breath here. You don't have to count them, I'll cue you. So again, just welcoming yourself into a bit more ease for these next few rounds of breath, these last few moments. if you're coming out of the back bend with me, you can step your feet to the ground. Just do it really gently, one of two ways, either rolling off to the side or using your elbows and your hands to press yourself up, but really toning the belly to do that. You can stay in the back bend and end that way if you'd like. You need a little more energy for the rest of the day. If you're practicing at night, I suggest coming out and just laying flat on the back for a final Shavasana. And just option to prop your Shavasana however you'd like, with a bolster or rolled blanket under the knees, with a pillow under the head. Just letting yourself lay out flat for these next couple of minutes. Good, letting the legs relax completely now. Just easing into your final resting pose. Full surrender now. Yes, even Circe, our golden retriever, is in full Shavasana. It's beautiful. Maybe a few long sighs out the mouth again. Letting the face relax completely. May you allow yourself to receive, even when doing so feels vulnerable or comes with some discomfort. May you remember what is true for you amidst the continuous influx of information from others. May you let coziness be comfort and comfort be prioritized. May you let yourself off the hook from your own impossible standards. May you listen to the compassionate voice that inevitably exists with you, and slowly let that voice get louder and louder, even when you might not be used to honoring it as valid and true. May you honor the parts of you that tend to get neglected or rejected, knowing that they matter too. May you feel the sting of other people's projections, judgments, and criticisms, just long enough to remember that they aren't yours, and then may you let them go. May you forgive yourself for all of the moments you forget to your own belonging, for all of the moments you forget how inherently connected you are to everyone around you. May you honor your body's cues, even when those cues go against your agenda, your schedule, or your plans. May you embrace your grief as much as you embrace your joy, knowing both make you so deeply human and both are necessary for aliveness. Those words are by Lisa Oliveira. If you're ready to end with me, I invite you to slowly deepen your breath and make your way up to a comfortable seat, taking your time and moving sweetly. Just ending here with a moment of gratitude. Thank you so much for showing up for this practice, for honoring the sacred time for rest and practicing just how you hold your attention, knowing that it'll change not only your presence in the world, but it will affect everyone you're present with. So thank you for doing this. I'm going to chant one Om to close, breathing in. Celebrating the love within all of us. Namaste.